Good afternoon. My name is Jesse Daniel Munoz-Colleen. I'm interning at Perkins Elementary School for a third grade class consisting of 18 students in the Pinellas County School District. The subject area for this particular lesson is going to be science. The topic is going to be plants, parts, structures, and roles. The indicators I have selected for this particular lesson are going to be 1. Reviews content within a lesson. 6. Presents developmentally appropriate activities through multisensory learning strategies. 9. Relates and integrates the subject matter with other disciplines and/or life experiences. 12. Maintains a climate of fairness and support. 16. Circulates around the room and assists students. 17. Models clear, acceptable oral and written communication skills. And number 18, uses formative and/or summative assessments to measure, monitor learning. The Marzano indicators that I have selected for this lesson consist of, under the lesson segments involving routine events section, under DQ1, communicating learning goals and feedback. Number 1, providing clear learning goals and scales or rubrics. And under the DQ6 establishing subsection, rules and procedures. Number 4, establishing classroom routines. Under the lesson segments addressing content section, under DQ3, helping students practice and deepen new knowledge. Number 12, recording and representing knowledge. And number 14, reviewing content. Under the lesson segments enacted on the spot section, under the DQ5, engaging students subsection. Number 28, maintaining a lively pace. And number 30, using friendly controversy among students, or team talk. Overview and context of the lesson. This is day 3 of a day 5 unit on plants, their parts, structures, and roles. We will observe results of a celery STEM lab set up from day 2, the prior lesson. The standards for this lesson will consist of SC.L.3.1.4.1. Describe structures and plants and their roles in food production, support, water, and nutrient transport and reproduction. SC.L.3.15.2. Classify flowering and non-flowering plants into major groups such as those that produce seeds or those like ferns and mosses that produce spores according to their physical characteristics. And SC.3.L.17.2. Recognize that plants use energy from the sun, air, and water to make their own food. Content objective. The content objective of this lesson will state, the students will be able to describe the role of the plant stem and the role of plant roots by completing their day 3 stem dissection and plant roots page with a minimum of the following to convey mastery. 1 sentence for a conclusion for the plant stem role, a drawing of a diagram showing the role of roots, with at least 1 label and at least 1 role described. The academic language objective will be, the students will be able to describe the role of the plant stem and the role of plant roots orally through the parts of a plant song, by drawing and labeling a diagram, and by summarizing a conclusion based upon observations. Assessment instrument. Here I will be hitting indicator 18, uses formative and/or summative assessments to measure and monitor learning, which will be the page 5 science slag, conclusion, and the diagram. The evaluation and criteria for success. I will be touching upon a Marzano indicator, the lesson segments involving routine events, DQ1, and communicating learning goals and feedback. 1. Providing clear learning goals and scales or rubrics. Students will complete page 5 of their slag, day 3, stem dissection and plant roots, page with 100% completion to receive 100%. A minimum of 80% is necessary for passing. A deduction of 10% is issued per missing piece of assignment, 1 sentence conclusion, the picture of the diagram itself, a label within the picture diagram, or 1 role within the diagram. To further elaborate upon the evaluation and criteria for success, I'm looking for a minimum of 1 sentence for the conclusion that relates to the role of the plant stem. For the look at the roots portion of the page, in which students have to draw and label a diagram showing the role of the roots, I am looking for a drawing with at least one label advising what the roots are, and also one description of the role of the roots. Materials needed: third grade science lab glorious plant slag or notebook, the celery and jars necessary for the celery stem lab setup from the prior lesson, the root samples, hand lenses, and the hyperlink to the Parts of a Plant song. Explanation of content. Students' prior knowledge. Students should be familiar with the concepts of photosynthesis, food production, stem, leaf, roots, flower, and energy. The vocabulary they should be familiar with are flowering, moss, non-flowering, seeds, roots, leaves, ferns, and stems. For demonstration of content, we will be touching upon indicator number 6, presents developmentally appropriate activities through multisensory learning strategies, as well as a Marzano indicator, lesson segments enacted on the spot, DQ5 engaging students, maintaining a lively pace. Introduction and hook. Begin by playing the parts of a plant song. The song identifies plant parts and their functions while engaging the students to act out the different parts. It's a really fun way to get the lesson going, and it touches upon the first Marzano indicator, maintaining a lively pace. Explicit instruction. Begin by advising the transition to the science lesson. This will touch upon the Marzano indicator, lesson segments involving routine events, DQ6, establishing rules and procedures, or number 4, establishing classroom routines. By this point in the school year, students are familiar with the classroom routine of transitioning to science. In addition to that Marzano indicator, indicator number 17 models clear, acceptable oral and written communication skills will also be put into practice. So we will begin by conducting a class-wide shared reading of the learning targets, the I can statements, and glorious questions. This will touch upon the Marzano indicator, lesson segments addressing content, DQ3, helping students practice and deepen new knowledge, 14, reviewing content. This will also touch upon our normal indicator of number 1, reviews content within a lesson. We will do so by reviewing the learning targets. The learning targets, the I can statements. I can describe the role of major parts of plants, including stem, roots, leaves, and flowers. I can classify flowering and non-flowering plants into major groups according to their physical characteristics. I can recognize that plants use energy from the sun, air, carbon dioxide, and water to make their own food. I would also read the glorious question, look at the label diagram above. Why do you think scientists classify plants as producers? Guided and independent practice. Instruct students to turn to page 5 and guide the class step by step per the instructions of the plant journal while examining and recording observations based on the STEM lab results from the previous science lesson on day 2. So you would read through the steps one by one, collectively as a class, guide them. So number 1, take the celery stem out of the colored water and place on the paper towels. Examine the celery stem. Use the hand lens. With your group, begin to break apart the celery to examine the inside of the plant and stem. And the conclusion, based on your observations, what is the role of the plant stem? And the conclusion, based on your observations, what is the role of the plant stem, will actually activate another Marzano indicator. Lesson segments addressing content. DQ3, helping students practice and deepen new knowledge. Number 12, recording and representing knowledge. An example of an answer for the conclusion could be something to the effect of, the role of the plant stem is to transport water to the rest of the plant, to support the leaves, and store nutrients. As the students are writing their conclusions, you will circulate around the room and assist students. Initiating indicators number 16 circulates around the room and assists students. Number 12 as well, maintains a climate of fairness and support, ensuring that support is equally distributed throughout the class. Throughout the course of this lesson too, you want to encourage and promote peer-to-peer small group discussion. Throughout this sequence of the lesson, you're going to want to encourage small group discussion, which will in fact initiate another Marzano indicator. Lesson segments enacted on the spot, DQ5, engaging students. Number 30, using friendly controversy among students, team talk. So again, during this sequence, indicator number 16 is being initiated, indicator number 12 is being initiated, and Marzano indicator lesson segment enacted on the spot, DQ5, engaging students, number 30 is being initiated as well. So then after students jot their conclusions based on their observations on what the role of the plant stem is, we will then have students examine different root samples. So after the STEM lab results and after students have written their conclusion, we are going to have students examine different root samples. On the same page, guide the class step by step per the instructions of the plant journal while drawing and labeling a diagram showing the role of the roots. So we're going to go ahead and read down the page. Look at those roots. With your group, examine the plant roots. Discuss your observations with your group members. Based on your observations and discussion with your group, what is the role of the plant roots? Draw and label a diagram showing the role of the roots. Indicator 18 will be initiated, uses formative and/or summative assessments to measure, monitor learning. So this independent practice, which will be the students drawing their diagram and labeling it, is going to be our formative and our summative assessment, thus initiating indicator number 18. This will also reinitiate a Marzano indicator, lesson segments addressing content, DQ3, helping students practice and deepen new knowledge. Number 12, recording and representing knowledge. 9, indicator number 9 relates and integrates the subject matter with other disciplines and/or life experiences, will be initiated in this sequence of the lesson in which we ask the class, in what ways do you see the same functions of plant stems in everyday life? Some examples that you could receive could be straw, building, skeleton, water hose, etc. The other question will be, can you think of anything we use that serves some of the same functions as a plant root? And other examples you could be looking for would include anchor, building foundation, etc. We have indicated questions. Why do you think scientists classify plants as producers? What is the role of the plant stem? What is the role of plant roots? In what ways do you see the same functions of plant stems in everyday life? Can you think of anything we use that serves some of the same functions as a plant root? We have no English for speakers of other language students, so there are no description of ELL students applicable, nor are there individualized accommodations necessary. We have one ESE student. The ESE student has been formally diagnosed as having autism spectrum disorder. He is very kind-hearted and is excellent in the areas of math. He has trouble focusing for extended periods of time, but calling upon him frequently to maintain his attention and giving words of encouragement remedies this. In reference to individualized assistive technology, none are applicable. For individualized accommodations for this lesson, none are applicable. Outside sources used for this lesson are going to be the parts of the plant song from the YouTube hyperlink that is available for the written lesson, as well as the third grade science lab Gloria's Plant Slag or notebook.